Welcome to episode 1 with JB and...
The doctor.
Hi, I'm JB.
I'm the doctor.
Thanks for joining us today for our first full podcast episode. Couldn't be more excited to have you join us. Like I said, I am JB, and I am a career salesperson. I have spent my entire working life in external sales. I have had the pleasure of closing over $500 million with a B dollars of sales in my career. And I am a master trainer, presenter, sales consultant, and have insight into the business world that I'm going to share with you each and every week, and hopefully have some fun with you as well. But it's not just about me, because we've got the doctor here, right? Mr. Doctor, what are you bringing to the table?
It's usually always about you, JB. We know that. But I am the doctor, Dr. Andre Caruso. I am a psychologist, business coach, behavioral expert. 20 years in the business world, degree in behavioral science. That pretty much sums it up. I'm here to give you the how and the science and the psychology behind everything that JB talks about. How about that?
You know, Doc, I know you're not performing therapy on these podcasts, but man, your voice has some soothing therapy for me, my friend. It's good. It feels good.
You get my therapy. You're the only one. If you are listening, this is not for therapy. If you need a therapist, please find one. They are great. But that's not what this is about.
No, like I said, it's about me, right?
It's always about you.
Now, here's what we really want to talk with you about today, folks, and thanks for joining us again. We want to talk about something you're going to run across every day in your life. For the most part, whether it's business or personal, it's something that 100% guarantee we're going to have to deal with. So this is pertinent to every single person listening to this podcast and everybody who isn't listening to this podcast. So you should probably go ahead and make sure at the end of this, if you like it, share it, because they probably need to hear this. So what we're going to talk about today, let's talk about networking. But I want to focus on the good stuff.
Wait, there's good stuff about networking?
Of course there's good stuff about networking. I love networking. I might be alone in that, but when I say good stuff right now, what I mean is the warm fuzzies in your belly. You know, that pleasant surprise you get. I mean, do you remember being a kid and you saw something you got excited about, that feeling? Because we're all kids at heart, right?
I know, I'm a child.
Yeah. I mean, he's still a kid. So what I'm talking about here, it's the very first impression that we make. And if you're going to a networking event or you're meeting somebody, there's a certain kind of first impression you want to make, right? I mean, don't we all have some sort of first impression that we want to leave with people?
We're making a killer one right now.
There you go. So here's my question for you. If you're listening to us, have you ever gone to a networking event? And as an aside, if you have not ever gone to a networking event, I've got a really great idea for you. Go to one, please. You need to do this. We need to network in life.
They really are vital.
They are. VITAL for sure. What I want to know is, have you ever seen somebody who works a room before? When I say work a room, I mean, have you ever seen somebody that's just like a natural? They look so comfortable. And have you ever scratched your head and said, well, how do they do it? Because I don't think for most of us that's common. I think there's certain people out there, like me maybe, that are really good at that, and then there's others that maybe aren't. But I do have a hint for you. It is all about the first impression. That's what it's about. And, you know, the one thing I really want to dig in off the bat is how long do we have to make a first impression? I want the doctor to speak to that, but I actually have another question for you first, Doc. When's the last time you actually went networking with everything going on? Do you even remember it?
Oh, I feel like we're in a different world right now. As you're listening to this, we are in the middle of a global pandemic, and all networking and outside events like that have been pretty much shut down for months, so it feels like years. Obviously still networking, doing the online stuff, but it's quite different than walking into a networking event and feeling that room and that energy. And I would say it's easily been a few months.
Do you remember specifically where you were and what you were doing at your last networking event? Do you remember what it was?
I feel like it was so long ago that they all kind of run together at this moment. That tells you how this pandemic's been.
That's funny because pre-pandemic, I couldn't tell you which one I had been to because I went to so many. It's like they all ran together anyways for me too.
That's what I was kind of thinking. But then to try to pinpoint it, I'm lucky I remember before pre-pandemic times.
Yeah, well, I don't know about you, but I've been doing a whole lot of virtual networking. So any of our listeners actually struggling with this or thinking, oh my gosh, I haven't been able to network. Virtual networking, it is a thing. I'm going to tell you a secret right now. Even the doctor doesn't know this. I don't think anybody knows this. I actually hate it with a capital H. Hate virtual networking. Have you ever tried to get a word in on virtual networking? I mean, there's people out there, and I swear this
much
isn't
like when
me.
I'm talking with the JB.
I swear it's not me, but there's people out there that don't know how to shut up, and they take over those rooms.
I'm not familiar with those people.
He's never had to work with anybody like that before. But it's really hard to get a word in edgewise sometimes on these virtual networking. So I'm trying to think back to the last time I went to a networking event, and it really has been so long. I'm a little fuzzy about what it was. But, what I'm not fuzzy about, and I'm never going to discount, is this first impression, because it's key. It is so key. Networking success is going to be built off that first impression because it's a judgment. So Doc, what are we looking at here? Do we have 5 minutes? I mean, how long do we have to make a first impression?
So even before that, I would add just what you were saying, how I think this is even going to be more vital, more key as we get back into the networking, because now people are going to be so ready to get back that you really want to make that first impression more so than ever.
Heck yeah. 100% agree.
And to answer your question, I know the listeners are like, oh, you got minutes to make that impression, right? And that is way too off. Is it like 3 seconds? Wrong. 2 seconds? Wrong. 1 second? Wrong. What's less than 1 second? I mean, what is there? And it's really, you have a half second if you're lucky. It's really milliseconds to make that first impression when you walk into an event and meet someone for the first time.
It's incredible. I think you actually had your accent change every second we counted down. I don't know what would have come after half a second. But, yeah, it's amazing. So think about that for a second. Not his accent, the actual first impression. Your event.
I was channeling my inner Charlie Murphy.
All right, Charlie Murphy. Okay.
Wrong.
Oh, that's getting me on a tangent, man. Don't get me distracted with Charlie Murphy. I love that stuff. All right, so your event, your success or failure, you're at a networking event. It might be based on literally half a second, barely enough time to register what somebody's wearing or their face, the color of their eyes, the clothes they're wearing, even the way they walk. How's that even possible?
Well, what do we love more than anything? We love things.
Ooh, I know.
He's probably going to say chocolate or scotch.
Well, those are good. It's us. We love ourselves.
We do. We love things that are familiar. And we are very familiar with ourselves. So, you ever find yourself listening to the same playlist over and over again, or watching the same TV shows, the same movies? Why is that? It's because you like it, and you know it. It's familiar. You don't even really have to pay attention. You know it so well. So when we walk into an event, in that half second, those milliseconds, people start to put you right into a box based on what they're familiar with. So they have an ideal in their mind of what you're going to be based on their previous encounters. Things that they already know. Things that you remind them of. Your walk, your look, your confidence. All those things that JB was talking about earlier, those are the things that are done in their mind. In their subconscious, of course, but in those milliseconds can make or break your whole event.
It's a true story. I remember when I had my one and only kid, and we were trying to name him. And do you know how hard it is to name a kid or even a pet or something? Because if you are trying to use names, you're going to be like, yeah, I knew that guy. Or I knew a girl like that. No. I cannot do it. I can't do it. I don't like them. Don't like them. So it's a funny thing. Even a name, can
That's
cause
why
an impression.
that's why so many people name their children after their parents or grandparents because it's familiar. They know that name and they have a good relationship with that name.
Now, is that why all these celebrities come out with these crazy names? Because they just don't like anybody? Oh, it's Blue Twilight. I've never met the Blue Twilight I dislike.
Not yet.
Just wait till she's 18. I do not like her. All right. Here's my question for you listeners. What kind of difference would it make in your life? So if you could make that very first impression you're making, make it more positive, make it better, stronger, what does it mean for you? Would it mean an extra sale? An extra raving fan who's a center of influence for you? Maybe, perhaps, one extra enjoyable evening out. What does it mean to you? But here's the challenge. Here's the really tough thing. We got half a second, maybe less. How do we control something that we have less than half a second, and that's built on other people's previous experiences that we got no idea about? I mean, it's not like we got time control. It's not like we're one of them X-Men running around the room super fast and it's slow-mo for them and incredibly fast for everybody else. It's a cool thing to have, but I don't think any of us can do that. So I'm gonna toss this one over to the doctor. Doc, what's your number one tip here for making a good first impression?
Well, I think most people in this room, our listeners, people in the world think a impression is made when you're walking in that door, when you're getting introduced to someone. But nope. It starts way before that. It starts with your mindset.
Big fat NO right there. No.
That's a big no. But that is a misconception, right? But it does really start with your mindset. It starts with, at the very least, as you're getting ready for the event, you should be putting your mind into what that impression is going to be like, how you're going to be. To be most effective, you probably want to do it when you first wake up. You want to start shifting your mindset right then and there. But this is your area, JB. You're the master of making that impression. So you tell me, what's your best tips on setting that mindset?
You know what? It's to me not that complicated. You're a doctor. I'm sure you could go into 1,000 reasons and ways to do this. But for me, in my experience, where I've seen success, it's all about controlling the controllables. And I'm not saying that to be cliche. I think it's self-image. And a lot of times we feel like we can't control our self-image, but we absolutely do have control over the self-image that we have on ourselves. I think just when you're trying to figure out how to make a good first impression, you need to see it. But see is not the right word. You really need to visualize it. You need to put yourself in the position where you own that visualization, and you know with 110% conviction, there is zero doubt in your mind that you're going to own that visualization, that you're going to make it happen. And if you're confident, if you have that belief and you have that self-image locked in, you will get the results you want to get. I can guarantee it. And this isn't just, this isn't positive talk. You'll hear a lot of people and they'll talk about, oh, positive talk, kick out the negative talk. I don't think that's possible. I don't think you can get rid of the negative talk personally. But I think it's also like literally, how do you look in the mirror? Like, you got up this morning, did you shave if you're a guy? Did you wash your hair? Did you put on your makeup? What are you wearing? Right? Do I look like the person that's going to own this room? I mean, I know where I'm going. I know the type of people I can expect to see at this type of thing. Am I going to be the person that other people want to meet? Am I walking out my door in the morning or out of my car and shutting the door out of the car and just not feeling the way I need it, but exuding it? And that's big, right? People, they can sense it. They can feel it, Doc. From the way your hair is done to the clothes you're wearing, all the way to the way you walk into the room and open up the door, that's where your focus needs to be, and it needs to be so strong. And if you do that, you're going to have a great first impression. I got to warn you, though, if you're walking into any sort of event, any sort of engagement with somebody, you're staring at your phone, you're in big trouble. So control the controllables. Self-image. I'm going to give you an example. Because I think the doctor's just like, man, how is he still talking? But I do have an example for you. Somebody walks into the room. They're clearly underdressed. They have stains on their clothes, a suit that doesn't fit. It's too baggy or it's too tight or the pants are too short. How excited are you going to be to meet them? I mean, seriously, you don't even need to see it and really identify. You know that's a well-fitted suit or a sloppy outfit. Yeah, you're super excited to meet them, I'm sure. Don't be that person, please. Every single engagement we have with people, we're getting judged. Know it, manage to it.
And I think to add to what JB's saying, and I don't think it means you have to go get the most expensive suit or you have to go, have the most expensive watch or anything like that. It's just about setting yourself up with that confidence. So he said right fitting suit. He didn't say most expensive suit, right? So you just want to take that time to make sure that you feel that confidence, that you feel put together, and you really control those controllables in a way that you can and not get stuck up into, well, maybe if I can't have that, maybe I can't afford that, I can't do it. You can. It's not about those things.
Yeah,
it's about the way you're controlling yourself.
I got a good business tip for anybody who needs to be buttoned up. It is not about how expensive the clothes you buy are. You can get really good, inexpensive clothes, but they have to fit right. So if you're going to spend money, and here's my business tip, if you're going to spend money, think about spending less on the clothes and more on the tailor. A well-tailored suit, you won't know if it's a cheap suit or an expensive suit if it's tailored correctly because it's going to look phenomenal. And that's true for women or men.
Excellent.
All right. So we talking in here, Doc, about mindset and frame of mind.
Sure we are.
Yeah, I think so. I bet a lot of our listeners are probably going, well, geez, that's pretty obvious there. Have a good mindset, but I don't really know how to get there. I don't have a good mindset when I go in. This isn't natural for me. I'm not comfortable. What are some of the really common ways, Doc, that you get yourself in the right place mentally?
Well, I feel the pain, right? I know it's very overwhelming. Like the idea of walking into a networking event, if you're not naturally prepared or the type of person who likes to walk, an introvert, even some extroverts, walking into a new space where they might not know anybody, all those things can play a role. And then, heck, some days you just don't feel like doing it. Like there's some days you wake up and you're like, today's not the day I want to be social.
Yeah, we've all been there. We have all been there. I mean, literally every time I go to work out.
Sometimes when you have to do a podcast with somebody, you just don't feel it some days, but you've pushed through. You push through. That's not a personal example at all.
That's a too brute right there. Yeah,
not at all.
That cuts to the heart.
I was thinking to people that have to work with other people that are not. I won't throw any other podcasts under the bus or anything like that. I wasn't picking anybody that's talking with a microphone right this very second.
My lips are zipped. Starting now.
But just so what I will say for one thing, if you really don't feel like it and it's just a one-off, take that time and don't go maybe that one time. If you're really feeling off, if it's an excuse and you always don't feel like going, that's different. So make sure you're teasing that part out in your mind. Am I saying I don't want to go because I always don't want to go? That's different. If you're just saying one time out of 100 you don't feel like going, then listen to yourself. You're allowed to take a time off. But we don't want it to be an all the time thing. So how do you get yourself there? So one of the best ways to get yourself ready in that mindset is set a small attainable goal. One or two easily achievable goals that you can achieve in that event, or getting yourself into that event, and your mindset will switch because now it's not taking on the whole idea of I have to make the whole night perfect. I just have to make this one thing well. And it's so much easier to get that mindset ready to do one small thing than it is to try to take over the world. Once you achieve that one small thing, you might actually take over the world. So I was coaching this one fella, and he was super nervous about walking in. Like that was like the worst thing he can do, is just walk in. And once he got past that walking in, it wasn't so bad for him. But the walking in just kind of stopped him in his tracks, and I'm sure some of you guys listening can understand that. So we set a goal for him. His goal was just to look at one person when he walked into the room, make eye contact, and smile at them. That was it. That was the whole goal. So when he walked in, he looked around the room, he saw someone make eye contact, he smiled at him, his goal was hit. Whole confidence changed. It just shot up. Boom! The whole rest of the night went easy because he was able to accomplish that one goal.
Man, you know what? You say that there's no perfect, but that's kind of perfect, right? That's a great story. There really isn't perfect, but there sure is practice. And sometimes practice it starts really, really basic. I am an awful golfer, right? Like I've been asked to go golfing 1,000 times in my life, and I've gone. And a lot of the times in my old career, I had to pay for the golf, and thank God I was the one buying the booze and the golf balls, because otherwise people would never play with me. I'm an awful golfer, and I went to try to get lessons, and they're like, well, you gotta relearn everything you've already learned all the way from step one, because you're just doing it all wrong. And then they gave up on me because it turns out I hadn't learned anything even after their training. I was just hopeless, but practice makes a difference, and sometimes it really is going back to that first step. But do these things really work, Doc? I mean, really?
You know it?
All right.
I mean, this isn't a golf podcast, luckily.
I'd be the wrong person to be talking on that one. Then actually, you want me to shut up? Have a golf podcast. I won't have anything to say. Nothing useful.
Note to self.
4. All right. So here's my follow up. You've got your mindset right. You're feeling good. All right, I'm ready to go. You're pumped up. All the stars are aligned. Man, that is not life. What happens when we actually face with some adversity? I mean, let's say you're driving, and this happens all the time here in South Florida, for real. But somebody cuts you off, or there's an accident in front of you, and both of these happen all the time in South Florida. Now you're going to be late. Now you're upset. I mean, what now? How do we actually control our reactions to this and stay in the right mindset before we make that first impression?
Well, first of all, if someone cuts you off, yell at that idiot. Yeah, scream at him. I'm kidding almost a little bit. But actually, you do want to process those feelings. So if someone cuts you off and you get angry, or if you know you're in traffic and you start getting worried, or you're nervous about, like, am I going to be late? Like, those are all real feelings and emotions. I mean, that is something that we go through. The challenge is when we stick with them and we hold on to them. So when I was saying yell at them, you don't want to yell at them aggressively and try to get into a fight, but in your head or just out loud in your own car, you can yell, stupid idiot. Or you can say, oh my God, I'm going to be late, and feel that emotion. But once you feel it, just feel it briefly and then let it go. You don't want to hold on to it, because then it takes over the rest of your night. But if you can feel it briefly, let it go, you will be able, those things will pass. So the next thing you want to do after that is take a few deep breaths. And taking those few deep breaths actually changes the chemical compounds in your brain, and it lets you do a reset. So a couple of nice deep breaths can reset your whole brain. And then when you do that, all you have to do is bring back your mindset that you had prior to whatever just happened to take you off of it. Bring it back to the forefront. And that's not going to be difficult, because you've already done all this prep the whole day, like we talked about, getting your mindset where it needs to be. So it's going to be like muscle memory at that point. So all you need to do is make that reset, and then everything, and just tell yourself you're right back into that mindset, and you're there. It's really, really that easy.
Yeah, it's interesting, and but half the time you've been talking, I've been thinking about myself when I'm behind the wheel and somebody cuts me off, and it's yeah, no. My wife would tell you on the weekends, especially, because we used to live in California, and California is notorious for commuting and traffic. And it's funny because at least during the week, I always felt like people knew where they were going. Yeah, there's a lot of people on the road, and the traffic was atrocious, but people knew at least what they were doing, and they kind of understood that we were all trying to just get somewhere, and so they were not ridiculously crazy or dumb. But on the weekends, my wife would be in the car sometimes if we ever had to jump on the highway. She could say it before I said it, and I need a beep noise here, but it'd be like, weekend drivers,
Beep.
son of a, weekend drivers. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know if people don't react when that stuff happens, but for me, it's a must. If I got any shot of getting back to where I need to be mentally, I'm gonna let that out. You're gonna hear it from me. Or you're gonna like see me pantomiming behind the window. You've seen those people on the road. Like the other car's probably even not next to me. They're in front of me. They don't know what I'm doing, but I'm arms in the air and super upset.
Well, and that's the case. Is most of the people that made you mad or made you have any of these feelings aren't really even aware of it, so they don't care. And we hold on to these things ourselves, and that's what affects our whole day. So that's your free advice also for the day. Like this goes to anything. Anytime you feel any emotion, don't hide from it. Your emotions allowed. You should feel emotions. We're human. Don't push them aside. Feel them, process them, and then move on.
So you've confirmed none of us are X-Men. All right. None of us have superpowers. We're all human. You got to process. Well, this has been interesting, Doc. We talked about a lot of stuff here. It's pretty crazy. That first impression, it's pretty big. So here's what I want to say. I mean, this is a topic where we're literally saying your networking is going to be made or broken on that first impression, but I mean, there's got to be more than that. We have a chance to potentially change the first impression, I imagine, on other things. Probably topics we should talk about on some of our next episodes, and maybe what happens after you walk in the door for networking, because
teaser
quite
teaser
the cliffhanger. I mean, come on. So here's our ask. If you like what we have to say, if you think there's some validity to what you're hearing here, follow us. Give us a 5-star review. Share this with your friends. Subscribe with us. You can join us on our website, jbandthedoctor.com. You can even email us. Yeah, .com. You can email us at jbandthedoctor@gmail.com. That's right. Let us know your opinions. We want to hear from you. I'm not even making that up. We want to hear from you. I will shut up and listen. So join us.
So please let us hear from you so that happens.
He really loves me. He can pretend all he wants, but he's just a kid at heart. He loves me.
Still a child.
So join us next episode. Thanks for listening today. This is JB, and I'm out.
Doctor. This is the Doctor. Peace out, everyone. We will see you guys soon. Thanks for listening.